Okay, this is an attempt at PC versus Mac, now with some bit, also known as the black box to the left, or or right as the case may be, doesn't really matter, you know? One person's left is another person's right. My left, your right, let it go. He's over there. We'll be taking a look at just what I'm sure is to be a trademark lawsuit rally for the rest of the year, as well as the obvious flavor for this PC versus Mac, given that Apple's supposedly making an announcement. It's unfortunately Apple-centric. But I started thinking about this after we did the stupid ThunderBolt thing the other day, and then I saw a commercial for another thing called ThunderBolt. So we're going to have a quiz here for people. What is ThunderBolt? Is it a new connection from Apple? Is it a new connection from Intel? Is it a new 4G Android phone made by HTC? Is it Zeus's ultimate weapon? Or is it a movie about a dog? Throw that one in there, you know? It's just, but really, do we all, everybody's like, this is the new Thunderbolt. It's Thunderbolt, 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 and Thunderbolt! How long is this going to go on before they all just sue each other? I mean, really, that's just... And then Zeus can just smite them all, you know? It's just... Oh, I swear, I don't know. It's just, and on that note, before we get into the Windows world, I mean, by the way, in case you're wondering, with the exception maybe of the fifth one, the movie, all of those are true. So pick one and go with it. As Leo was so proud to point out, and I'm sure everybody in the forum in the comments is now going, no, the movie was called Bolt. I had to watch it 5 billion times because I had little kids. It's like, I'm like, whatever.
Right, little kids.
But yeah, I'm honestly wondering, on that stuff. I'm sure that's going to devolve into lawsuit theory because we already have another lawsuit evolving here that Motorola is attacking TiVo. It's like, basically they bought some company who held a patent that TiVo might infringe upon, so now they're suing TiVo. It's just, we need to put a law into account that says if you buy the patent third hand, you can't sue anybody over it who's been using it for 10 plus years. That's just, there needs to be a rule. Because I swear that's okay, this company's going under, we're going to buy them and sue everybody to justify the cost of buying them. It's every time a company switches hands, here go the patent lawsuits. It's just, it really has gotten ridiculous. I guess they're not happy that they're futzing up Android. I don't know. I guess we'll just jump right into iWorld, even though that's not on the top of the list. We should, because I hate Apple, I really do. But it's relevant news this week, damn it, and we have Bit here, so he can correct us for being anti-Apple. I found this cute. There's an 11 things that the iPad 2 needs. Now, before we get into this, I found it really interesting. There's a story coming up that's going around the blogosphere right now, which is basically stating people have stopped using their iPads. I don't know if this is just somebody writing an article to try and capitalize on the fact that iPad is definitely a key buzzword right now with Apple's announcement being tomorrow. But here's what the story claims. Okay, they claim a lot of people that bought their iPads have basically just stopped using them. They've realized that their smartphone, whether it's an iPhone or or a Samsung or an HTC or their smartphone does most of the things that their iPad will do that they care about, and it does it in a more portable way and in a larger form factor. They're like either their MacBook Air or their netbook or their laptop really suits them better. It's like, I don't really need this in between device right now. It's like it was cool, I bought it, I fell in love with it, but I just don't find myself using it.
Where are you getting this article from?
It's do you still own an iPad? Towards the third one from the bottom in that section.
Oh, I didn't get that document. Are you talking about the show
crap.
document?
I haven't added bit! Hold on. He can't see anything we're talking about.
No.
Please stand by for technical sharing. Well, you're not usually over here, okay? It's understandable, It's,
I'm just winging it, man.
You should have said something earlier. This is what happens when you miss conferences, damn it.
I didn't get the memo.
Somebody got me once. One of my little underlings got me this thing. I don't know where they got it, but it says cheap executive officer. It's like you squeeze it and it says things. It's the sickest thing. Okay, are you in the file now?
Hold on.
He's coming. Part of him's coming through. We're having MCP issues today. I'm going to blame it all on the MCP. It did it. At the tone, please record your apocalypse. Thank you.
Your apocalypse will be ready in 661 days.
Ah, yes. Okay. As long as it's ready then. I was afraid it was going to be late.
These kinds of things always are.
I know. This is the third apocalypse I've ordered. Damn it. They told me the second one was going to be free, and then they screwed that up. I mean, I just don't believe them anymore.
Come on. There we go.
The joys of slow cloud computing.
No, I was on the Apple website because if you're on the iPad, I had actually did a few posts on Twitter a while back because I've been tracking how many refurbished iPads there are. And
That's the other thing.
the purest Apple fanboys would use, well, there's people that are just deciding to return it within the grace period of returning because they find out the iPad 2 is going to be launched rather tomorrow, but this has been going on, and so they're saying, yeah, they're getting wind of these rumors of the iPad 2 coming out. I was like, I'm sorry, that's way too much of a stretch for someone just to go in there and then return it after.
And honestly, whether you love or hate Apple, the iPad is a Gen 1 thing. If as soon as the iPhone 4 came out and you looked at the difference in specs and it was one of those things. It's like, no, I'm going to wait for an iPad 2. Even if you want to buy Apple, which I have no interest in, but even if you want to buy Apple, you're really better off waiting for the iPad 2. I know that's not the Apple mentality. When the iPad launched, all these people went out and bought the Wi-Fi one, knowing that 2 weeks later there was going to be a 3G one, and then they went and bought that one. I'm like,
right.
Like, I can't wait 2 weeks. 2 weeks is too long.
Still, I wish Motorola had copied that.
No, they did it the other way around.
Yeah, they did it the other way around, and it messed things up.
Anyways, okay. Yes, I see you are in here. Okay, it's like, anyways, down there on that thing. Yeah, that's what this article is claiming. That, it's not that they've, chunked it out. It's just they're not using it. It's not like they're waiting for the iPad 2 or they're looking to buy an Android tablet. It's just a lot of people who flocked to the for lack of a better word, Apple Magic, are realizing they don't really have a use for this device. Again, I don't know if this... I can see that. On the other hand, I don't know if the article is just trying to capitalize on the fact that anything with the word iPad in it right now is going to get good Google page rank. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, iPad, I consider it a luxury item. I don't find any...
thing with it.
And it's not a tablet. See, I just released a video all about tablets and the iPad and what I'm looking for in a device and stuff like that. And I consider this a massive luxury item, and it needs alternative things rather than what it offers for me to consider it productive. So.
Well, here's the missing piece with that, as far as I'm concerned. And actually, this is the missing piece right now for Android tablets too, and it is a missing piece for WebOS tablets too. It's a missing piece for all these. Okay, we should quantify this. There's tablets, and then there's slate tablets. And
I would say there's tablets and there's media devices. A tablet to me is what I used to work with in the medical industry.
Well, no. That's what I mean. These slate devices, which are very much right now just media consumption devices in their current incarnation, can become work productivity devices, but what's missing is the software to allow you to do work productivity stuff. I'll give you an example. If iOS and Android and other things had an application that would let you, say, go in there and administer your web page. You know, just stick your finger in there and go, I'm going to drag this article over here, I'm going to drag this menu down here, okay, publish that change. You know, if it would let you do work, if it would let you control your conferences, if it would let you participate in the...
Well, it actually does that. It does that for me. I mean, I actually do I got the iPhone originally because there's three applications that I used as my core to actually do scripting on the fly, non-compiled code, and I would support a lot of my clients from my iPhone with the existing apps that I had, and I've been able to tunnel in and do things like that. The thing that I hated about the smartphone doing these things is we're pushing the limits of these devices is that screen real estate goes to hell when you have a virtual keyboard. And it's just cumbersome to have half or more than half your screen gone.
But see, that's the thing right there. While you're right, there are a few apps that do that, and they're not the majority of the apps. They're like a handful of They're a handful of exception to the rule apps.
Yeah.
And like you say, they haven't really embraced the idea of this form factor. What you need is an app that is for work that embraces the idea of this form factor, and that hasn't really been done yet at all. And not on any of the platforms. It's
well, I would say Android. Wasn't there an Android device that is starting to use a stylus? I forgot who was putting it out. That I could see very useful in the medical field, as long as that you're able to make these media consumption devices into some tablet function. I think that you've got a real winner. The problem that I had with the iPad was I found it just very limiting in some of the functions that I wanted it to do. I like the touchpad because while I'm on the tablet, I don't want to also then go back to my phone. Let's say that I'm at a restaurant or wherever. I want to be able to, if I just bring the tablet, not have to worry about answering my phone. I want to be able to service all my phone functions also on the tablet while working on it. And then when I'm done with it, then of course I can go back to the phone. Because I consider these devices an extension of my phone and also an extension of my desktop. And that's what I'm looking for in these devices. I want to have my key functionality that comes from my phone and then it comes from my desktop, which is development and support of my clients with a bigger screen real estate than my smartphone can offer. But again, I don't want to sit there and go, damn it, I got to go answer my phone. I love the demo of the touchpad receiving phone calls and MMS and SMS.
But like
from
you
the
say,
phone.
they don't work like that right now, and that's basically the crux of this article. It's saying it's a great gimmick, but at the end of the day, I just, I'm better off not using the device at all because I'm just going to have to switch back to the other device anyways.
Mhm.
So it's one of those. If it got fully cooked, maybe, but right now, not so much. And it's one of the. It's a valid thing. And it's one of those. Nobody's got this particular aspect of it right, and I don't think anybody's going to get this particular aspect of it right this year either. It's one of those things. It's embracing a change in the way things are done, and the fanboys can rave about that all they want. It's like, oh, well, Apple's leading the way. Apple's leading the way. It's like, yeah, no, they're not. Even Apple doesn't get it.
Jobs said, here's key tests. He said, better browsing, better email, better music, better photos, better videos. The only things that I'll probably give him the two on are photos and videos. Games are better on laptops, and email sucks on all of these tablets that I've seen. HP has some promise that I've seen in some of it, but you can get way better applications on normal desktop use. In browsing, forget it. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't care what side of the argument people are with Flash and HTML5. Until Flash dies or the ubiquity of it lessens than what it is today, don't argue to me about, we can do without Flash, because that's total bullshit. I hate going to a website and not getting full content.
Oh, well, wait a minute. The official Apple fanboy line is, those are just ads. You don't need those ads.
Yes.
And you know what was so stupid about that? Right when Steve Jobs sitting there in that chair, he goes to the New York Times page. Oh, look! Flash! Oh, well, wait, there's a New York Times app for that. It's like...
Yeah. I did a whole video criticizing that, where he tried to go and making all these hypocritical technological remarks. And I support Apple to say they want HTML5, but don't think it's some sort of justified move when the market size that uses Flash today is just far more considerable, and I think it's just really an idiotic move to just completely dismiss it, whatever the reason may be. And I think it's just a very limited amount of browsing that you can get on these devices.
Well, and the fact Apple knows that is a limited thing, because immediately they went and dubbed over the video where that wasn't how it looked.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, well, this didn't happen. The same thing with they're showing cinematic movies playing in the thing, but they digitally edit how the picture shows, so you think it looks right. It's like, if they really think this thing's perfect, why are they having to fix it in all their marketing stuff? I'm a little confused there.
I don't know how you can lay down $500, $700 and just say, well, when you already have iPods to handle your music, and a lot of the videos now, that you can also watch the movies on some of these iPods. I can get the iPad and be a better movie player, but are you really going to be carrying this thing around to watch movies?
Well, again, that's what this article's saying. It's one of those things. It was a great gimmick. The gimmicks wore off now. Now it needs to do more. It needs to actually serve my full computing needs. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily need to be a desktop OS device, but it needs to be more than just a fancy iPod, for lack of a better word.
Sure.
Quick note on that before we move into the wish list of the Apple fanboys. Apparently, now they're going to be white. Yeah, white iPads. Their service places getting replacement covers, and they're white. So, if this is true, this is purely a rumor, and it's not confirmed, and it's not 100% confirmed, but if this is true, I have one response to this. Where are the white iPhones? That's right. I'm like, you have time to get a white iPad, which nobody has asked for and was never promised, but you still haven't got the white iPhone out. I don't want it, but that's the obvious question.
But I'm not a purist, as one would say, and You can't defend the undefensible.
It's one of those, like, you get the thing that wasn't promised, and you still haven't delivered the thing that was. And how many people like pre-ordered white, or like I want the white iPhone. I want the white. It's like a year later, still doesn't exist. It's like, okay. Moving on to the 11 things on the 11 thing wish list, and some of these things are valid, and some of them are you Apple fanboys are dreaming. The first one, I think, goes without saying that Apple's probably going to do this, and that is people want the iPad to have more memory. And that's
going to be a given.
And that is a very valid request, given that it's operating at 256, and the pretty much standard for these devices right now is upwards of a gig, 512 at a minimum. And that is one of the reasons the iPad runs more sophisticated HTML5 just so poorly. It just doesn't have enough memory. It doesn't. It does need it. It's a Gen 1 thing. It's one of those things. Apple launched it without multitasking. They kind of stepped multitasking into it. It wasn't designed to be doing a lot of work.
Yeah. iOS, I'm sorry. To me, it's not. They're doing the best they can, and it was an afterthought. WebOS came over there and really taught everybody a lesson, including Android, which I still don't understand why they're still sticking with. What is it? A maximum of 6 apps that you can sift through. I think it's just
no. You're talking about you are talking about the UI thing if you're trying to use Android like Apple. I have to bite you off there because there's a difference. Android does not use that navigation. Apple clearly copied that when they added that into Sonic because it's the same button. If you hold the menu button down on an Android device, you wind up seeing the last 6 apps. Right. But that's when you're doing apps that are doing multitasking and running in the background. That's not where they are. They're in your notifications thing. That drop menu from the top, which is full.
Click to get to it. It needs to be like a card swipe or something like.
No, it isn't. On an Android device, get a bunch of things running at once. Go to that little white or black bar at the top, and just with your finger scroll down. And your notifications menu there will be all your active running apps, from Pandora to Android Task Manager to your various streaming apps that are either paused or stuff running in the background, and they're all right there. You just select them to switch back to the.
My HTC didn't operate that way. I don't know. I mean, I can't do it now because I don't have it with me. But
okay, but it's like the.
Say it again. I'll confirm it.
Okay. Like, get a bunch of media applications or other things multitasking. Like, get a game going, get other things going. And they should all be in the notifications thing if they're still running in the background. The 6-button thing that the 6 recent apps that people say is like the apps, that's the last 6 things you launched. It's like a favorites thing. Okay. It's like your history. Like my recent documents would be what that's a parallel to. The active.
Now, what about solving the Android the quitting of applications? Is that improved yet?
I can't vouch for Honeycomb because I haven't messed with it yet. It's got a lot better in Gingerbread, but that is a little bit of an issue. And that depending how the application was written, not all of them do quit.
Well, it's the same. It's just as cumbersome in iOS. Believe me, my wife's got the iPhone 4, and you hit the damn home button and the dock thing elevates or whatever, and you scroll through it, and then I think you hold it, and then you push the little red dot on the corner, and it goes away. I think it was just a total joke. I mean, they addressed it, but I don't think not very well at all.
Yeah. Well, no, and I found it varies from app to app in Android. Like some of the poor-ridden ones don't quit till you go into them and actually quit. And then other ones, if you don't have it doing anything and you leave the app, do quit. It depends how they made the app.
I also want to say this too. Starting off with the iPhones and then later on using an Android device and then a WebOS device, I can honestly say at this point, I'm tired of the iOS UI with all those stupid icons everywhere and flipping pages of icons. I found it actually more efficient to hit your menu and it launches up all and you can go through the applications far faster with
This has been my complaint.
Gadgets or widgets or whatever.
This has been my complaint about iOS before it was called iOS, since the very early days. I went into a store, I played with the device, and I found this UI a little cumbersome. It wasn't that it wasn't functional. It was functional. It was just a little. It was just a little cumbersome, and it was one of those. I don't really want to have to screw with this. And everyone is like, "Oh, it's great, it's great, it's great." I'm like, "It's a little cumbersome." That was my honest reaction from day one. And then Android came out and got rid of the cumbersome, and then like WebOS, in some ways improved. There's honestly a debate on which one of those is better, but it's a good debate, and I think it keeps them both getting better. But yeah, I agree. But here's the thing: how does Apple fix that without completely changing the UI at this point? Because they'd have to do things that they swear are what's wrong with the other platforms. It's just, and they'd need more memory to do that. I think one of the reasons Apple only has that one big file, and this goes to the thing on the wish list, is they put a very small amount of memory in their iOS devices. And there's only so many resources to go around, and they don't want to overload the device just with the default stock doing nothing UI, because then the user definitely isn't going to like the experience.
Right.
Anyways, moving on to the second thing on the list. This is another one that I think's a no-brainer. A camera.
Yeah, I think the camera's going to be there, definitely.
Yeah, as I'm sure there will be a camera in the iPad too.
Now, I don't know if there's going to be a rear-facing camera, but I definitely believe there'll be a front-facing camera.
Yeah, well, it's honestly just going to depend. Here's the thing. I think there's going to be both, and I'm going to say that because you don't want to be doing FaceTime, holding your device facing away from you. And Apple needs to incorporate the iPad into the FaceTime ecosystem.
Well, yeah, but that's what for a front-facing camera, right? I mean, so you can look at the device rather than the rear-facing camera.
Oh, so you think it won't have a rear-facing camera? It'll be front-facing only.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's plausible. Apple might surprise and actually.
They might, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably possible. I don't see this happening. The third thing on their thing is wirelessly tethering peripherals. Could it do it? Yes. Do I see it?
Yeah, jailbreaking it. I've seen it.
Yeah, well, no. That's what I say. Yeah, jailbreakers do this. But this is just one of those concepts Apple cannot seem to get their head around. The idea that people don't want to physically plug their devices together. There's no reason that you shouldn't be able to walk into your home and just sit your iPhone. Just have your iPhone in your pocket and sync it wirelessly. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to do that at all.
Over the air updates, everything.
Everything.
I was so exhausted of just, here I got to plug it in iTunes and run
You shouldn't have to go get that little white USB cable every time you want to mess with an iOS device. But that's Apple's mentality going back to their old root days of we are a hardware company. We're going to do this little physical connect. They can't get out of that. I'd love to see them get out of that. In my opinion, that's the way it should work. You should just come in, all these devices should just do wireless hot syncing. Android, iOS, it should just wireless syncing over the network. The device stays in my pocket. It starts going bleep, 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 beep. I didn't have to take it out. It's doing everything. I walk off. I'm done with the computer. I'm done. I didn't have to do anything. That's how it should work. I don't see this coming out of Apple. Android's barely beginning to do it. WebOS, I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's one of those things.
Didn't the Zune have something like that at one time?
Yes and no. Bit knows more about the Zune than I do, ironically.
What are you talking about?
He's asking if the Zune had wireless syncing of some sort.
Zune, no, I have to plug in the Zune to my Windows computer to get updates.
Yeah, I'm going to say, you did have to do physical connections with the Zune, I thought.
No, but the HP touchpad, I mean, they've already demoed wirelessly syncing, and my Palm device is all OTA, and the touchpad will communicate wirelessly and also Bluetooth with the VR3 or Pre3 and computer phone.
Yeah, it's like, and one of the concerns people have obviously is security and other stuff. I'm like, well, Bluetooth's an obvious solution to that. Just program in your Bluetooth key, and then you got to be within 30 feet of the system. And
Such a lot of device could more just use typical Wi-Fi security.
yeah, I know. Well, but yeah, it's like Web 2 is fine. But yeah, it's, I that's honestly how I think these devices should work. It's one of those. I need a cable to sync a wireless device. Really? It's one of those things. If you're a technical person in the 21st century, you're like, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? I know what they were thinking. I know what all of them were thinking. Cables break, and it's $5 of pure profit. That's what all of them were thinking. Every freaking manufacturer, that's what they were thinking. Cables are cables are pure profit. It's like, because nobody coils their cables. This is my freaking pet peeve. I guard my cables. I don't let anybody touch them. Because I actually coil my cables. Every time I lend a cable of any kind to somebody, I get it like all bunched in a ball. And I'm just like, I have been coiling that thing. It's as good as day one. You want to like strangle them. You really do. It's like, but you really didn't mean to. It's just. Anyways, next thing I think is on the fanboy just wish list. I don't see Apple doing this. They want the
card slot? No.
Yeah, the SD card slot. I don't see it happening. I see Apple getting on stage and spending 40 minutes explaining why you don't need an SD card slot. We have this nice fancy rigmarole process for you to go through with iLife that makes an SD card slot just completely unnecessary.
Exactly. They'll spin it as, this is ancient technology. They have or something like that.
Just
whatever.
The act of taking a thing out of one device and sticking it in another and just simply doing, that's archaic. It's not magical or elegant. You don't want to do that. It's like, what is it? Increasing storage.
That's going to happen. That'll happen.
I don't think it's going to go to 128.
No?
This has been something everybody's been wanting out of Apple for, I think, the last 2 years, and it still hasn't come. Do you really think Apple's going to do it just this year?
Well, I could be wrong, but I don't see why they would not.
It should. Really, these devices need, because we're putting movies and stuff on them now, and movies are a good amount.
But then again, goes to the use. I'm going to put my whole movie. I just think it's just odd. The usage. I want to have an e-reader and look at photos. I mean, do people really look at photos on these devices? I don't have one photo on any of my smartphones. I mean, God forbid it gets stolen. I don't want the person who steals my phone, if they get past security, to look at my entire life and all my love.
The arguments for the photos goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is making these devices useful, and that photographers would love the idea of being able to work with photos on a slate device, because that is a very intuitive way to just it shrinks, take this area, crop it, fix red eye.
No, but I'm talking about iPhoto. I'm not talking about a productive application for a photographer. I get that. I'm talking about photos like they're showing like they showed in the demo. Just any schmuck's family and friends they're putting on there. I just don't. Maybe I live in a completely different universe, but I don't know anyone.
Yeah, no. Here's who I see honestly using that. I get your argument, and here's who I see using it. Those annoying people who just had a kid, and for the first 6 weeks, they have to show everybody the upteen jillion pictures they've taken.
Look. That's about right. Look, I have 2 kids, and one's on the way in 2 months. My wife doesn't even do that, and she has an iPhone 4. I mean, she'll like to have photos, maybe 1 or 2 for herself, like for a wallpaper type thing.
Right.
She's not going to go, look. We have online places that people can visit that know us, and we give them the password to go and view the galleries that we post for everybody. I just don't understand. I cannot mentally grasp just, we're all going to sit down and look at this damn device and flip through photos. I don't get it.
No. Here's the thing. I could see it if Apple added a feature that Apple is deathly afraid of, and this is something a lot of people want all these tablet devices to do. And I'm sure there'll be an application that'll do this for Android because of its open nature, and I'm sure when it'll come to WebOS, I see Apple being the last to get it. And that's the idea of remote parent. In that I'm in a group, all of us have the device, and I just go, okay, let's do syncing so you can see what's on my screen.
Yeah.
And that really is a useful feature for exactly those situations. Yes, let's all crowd around the little screen. No. You hold your screen and I'll just press the sync button. Did you accept my sync? Okay.
Yeah.
Let you see this one. You see, yeah. That's how that needs to work.
Right.
And yeah.
And as for the movies, I get it. Maybe a few movies on there, like when you're traveling, waiting in the airport. Yeah, sure, you want to be able to entertain yourself in some games, but are you going to spend that much money just for that if you're not really using it productively?
I never realized you had this much hostility towards the iPad.
Oh, well, no. I have two videos that came out and supported it because I was excited about voice over IP. I made an entire video talking about how I could program on it using my iPhone applications and then use voice over IP to take phone calls and SMS and MMS, and then I got laughed at. That's retarded. What, are you going to hold it up to your ear? I was like, please, people. Haven't you heard of...
No. You're gonna add that other futuristic feature that surprisingly enough did not make this list, and I was going to talk about that at the end, but I'll add it now. And that nobody asked for the iPad to have a USB port.
Well, no, I expect it to have a USB port.
No. But I mean a USB port for devices, because then I could just put a Bluetooth. Or built-in Bluetooth. The ability to sync like an earpiece.
Right, that was complained about day one when the iPad came out. Everybody goes, where's the USB port? Where's the camera and where's the USB port?
Yeah. Anyways, moving on to the next thing. I don't see this happening. I do see maybe in the iPad 3, not the iPad 2. The complaint is that the speaker isn't good enough. The specific complaint is they want it to have another speaker. I don't see this happening. Apple's not going to cram a second speaker into that device. What they might do is at some point, not this revision, either iPad 3 or iPad 4, they might upgrade it to the smart surround sound speakers that do things like smart bounce the sound off walls so you hear it better. But that requires some software and processing power dedicated to that, and I don't see them doing that in this revision.
They might. I don't know, because manufacturers stay pretty close to one another, and HP's already doing it, and I believe, isn't the Motorola Zoom?
Yep, but that's the complaint. Its speakers weren't good to begin with, and now the speaker is not only not good to begin with, but what the fuck compared to everything else. Pardon my language. The other thing, and this is, I don't see this happening. People want the Retina display on the iPad. I don't see it happening. It isn't that Apple couldn't do it, and it isn't that wouldn't be a really great display. When you put that display on a small form factor like a phone, you're making enough pixels that it's on par with something like a larger device like the iPad or a netbook or some laptops. If you put that dense a display in a screen that big, you wind up with a resolution that's so high that honestly the processor and graphics processor that's likely to be in there would not be able to handle it. I don't see it handling a resolution that high, which means every single thing you did on the iPad would just suck. You'd do something and you'd wait for the screen to catch up. I don't see them doing that, because to do that they would have to quadruple the graphics processor. They'd have to go with not just a dual-core CPU, but a fast dual-core CPU. These are not the type of Oh, just because upgrades I expect to see from Apple. I don't know where your opinion is on that. That's.
Yeah, I don't know even. I'm actually not even expecting Apple to have the dual core on this generation.
I'm not either.
Something's telling me that they're going to up it on a single core, but I don't think it'll be dual core.
No, yeah, I'm expecting something like the new 1.2 gigahertz A4. that's what I'm expecting. It's like, really, you're just going to be a little faster than a gig when everybody else is a little faster than a gig with dual cores.
And I think that's why the rumors of the iPad 3's launch, like all these rumors of iPad 3 being so close to iPad 2, is I think Apple now, since other manufacturers are really gaining hardware traction, that they're like, oh man, they didn't have enough ramp up time. But we'll be proven right or wrong tomorrow. But if there's no dual core tomorrow, then the iPad 3 is coming pretty quick.
Well, no, I don't see Apple. I don't see Apple and Panic Factor 5 to go. We're gonna launch before the year's up. I don't see that.
No.
No.
A lot of people are saying
that would be admitting defeat, and I don't see Apple doing that. That would be admitting that the iPad 2 is just...
Apple's admitted defeat many times, it's just they spin it differently, believe me. From the original launch of the iPhone and all of the complaining of the developers since 2007, they capitulate. It's got to be spun correctly.
Okay, yeah, and well, like we've talked about the processor. The other thing is people want it lighter and cheaper. Okay, the cheaper I get, the lighter, what are you smoking? It's like, I want it heavier. I want it to feel like something I'm not going to break by picking it up. It's like, anyways, we've spent the whole show on iWorld, and this is not iWorld, this is PC versus Mac, so let's move on to the Android world, because it's not like plenty of shit hadn't gone on there.